Hey guys, can you hear me okay? The Collector, how's it going? Devron, Yusef Patel, what's going on, guys? Let me know if you can hear me. All right, perfect. Ready for another minus 20% no matter what. So I'll tell you guys what I want to see here. I really want to see, let's turn on extended trading hours. I want to see the daily trigger act as support. I'd prefer not to see like a total collapse below the daily trigger. All right, so far, I would say not too bad. Because price is holding the daily trigger. And as long as price holds the daily trigger, it sets up an airplane setup. And I don't want to speak too soon because I don't really know what's going to happen here, but it's a bad drawing. Let's say something like that. So as long as, price doesn't completely collapse here, it sets up a pretty decent trade coming up where next time price moves back above the hourly trigger, that'll be a really strong upside move. So preferably, I'd like to see something like this. Do you guys know if there's going to be more price action? I'm hoping this is it, really. Shout out Beastie Boy. Okay. Yeah, I mean, no conference call. That's pretty much GME's MO, so didn't expect much else, if we're being honest. So yeah, for me, the main focus is just no collapse. If we collapse back below here, I'd be pretty annoyed, pretty disappointed. But otherwise, as you guys can see, the weekly trigger is only 9 cents above the 9 cents below the monthly trigger. So this coming up Friday, which is in a couple of days from now, in literally 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as long as GME remains, I would say probably above 2250. Um, as long as we can remain above there, we get that bullish cross next week. And then to me, it definitely seems that next time price breaks above the hourly trigger here, it sets up a really strong upside move. So overall, I'm pretty happy. I still think the setup's great. If I'm being honest with you guys, I know like there hasn't been takeoff yet, so people may be antsy or whatever. I'm playing this slow. I made a post about this. Like, yes, I'm calling for a melt up, but with these kind of setups, if I zoom out a bit, it's not going to be easy for me to tell you guys exactly when it's going to start. So I'm having a very patient approach with it. Again, keep in mind this is GameStop, guys. I'm lucky if I get it remotely close to the time frame. The main point is that the longer price spends above all four of these triggers, especially the weekly trigger, the monthly trigger, and the daily trigger, the higher the odds become that this will lead to a melt up. Now again, I've made my opinion quite clear that I do think there's going to be a melt up coming here. I just want to show you guys a logarithmic view to make things a little simpler to see. So, for example, back here when we got that bullish crossover, it definitely did take a couple of weeks before things got violent to the upside. Didn't happen immediately, but the main point is that when you look at the setup here, this is what you normally would see if price is going to get really, really explosive to the upside. The triggers are slowly moving their way, as you guys can see in the bottom right here. They're slowly moving their way into the most bullish trigger orientation. So while a lot of traders got bored during all of this chop, there was 2 pumps, and then let's see, from June, July, August, now we're 3rd through September. During all that time period, a lot of traders got bored with the setup, thinking nothing's going to happen. But the whole time, what was going on behind the scenes was the weekly trigger was rising, and now it's only, a couple of days away from crossing over, barring a complete collapse in price. So if this is going to happen, it's probably going to happen pretty soon, I would say. Again, the only thing I was looking for in earnings was just for price not to collapse. I was hoping, I had two hopes. One was that price stays flat. That was my best hope. And then once IV cools down, I can take a share position, a call position for a possible incoming melt up. And I'd take, like, let's say a big position here tomorrow and then use a stop loss below the daily trigger. So worst case, price breaks below the daily trigger, I take my small loss. Best case, price breaks above the hourly trigger, which is more likely here, and things get really explosive. Of course, 25, by the way, crucial level, got to be watched. Once we break 25, probably sets up a move to 30 just right off the bat. Just where a lot of concentrated gamma is, also a big psych level. So that I'm sure everybody's well aware of, the importance of 25. But yeah, guys, I mean, look, let me show you some examples of like some airplane setups so you guys know what I mean. Let's see. Let's take off. Let's take off extended. So where was it? This was years ago, I think. Yeah. So here's a really good example where you get that hourly trigger, daily trigger crossover, price pulls back, pins at the daily trigger for a bit, and you can see the hourly trigger getting really tight here to the daily trigger, and then price breaks above and makes that explosive move higher. So kind of looking for the same thing on GME here, where, all right, we broke above the daily trigger, we got that initial upside acceleration. What this mostly tells us is that the algos have now turned on. And in fact, if, I'll get to it in a minute, but just to show you guys what I mean about the algos turned on, is you can see all the dip buying that's been going on in the past couple of days at the 5-minute trigger. So like on this move up, you can see every time it pulled into the 5-minute trigger, got a really nice bounce, pulled into the 5-minute trigger, got a really nice bounce, bouncing again, right into that hourly strength. So, and then eventually got that bearish crossover, and even then, it was a slow move down. It wasn't like a strong push down. And you got a really nice bounce here today at the hourly trigger. Later on in the day, we saw a lot of calls selling off, probably caused the drop. But in general, we know for sure the algos are a lot more active here once price broke above the daily trigger than they have been in recent choppy days. Like, for example, you could see here just no activity. Nothing was really going on yet. Price ended up rejecting the daily trigger and coming all the way back down to the weekly. But now algos are definitely alive and active. So in short, I think the most bullish scenario that we can get from here is either price is just going to turn and rip tomorrow. Once back above the hourly trigger, that can, again, any upside move here can turn into a melt up because of the way price is positioned above all the triggers. So, I kind of want to just make sure I have exposure. Of course, I have my share positions, but I kind of just want to make sure I have call exposure anytime price is above the hourly trigger. So, for example, if I took a entry here when price broke the hourly trigger, this would technically be my stop loss, because one of these moves, I'm pretty sure, is gonna actually send it. So in short, I think we might see some pinning here, but as long as we hold the daily trigger, which is right here at 2270, as long as that holds, once price breaks back above the hourly trigger, I think we can go a lot higher. So again, I'm still bullish. I still really think this is getting set to melt up. Just the way the triggers are positioned, it seems quite likely to me. And again, in this kind of scenario, you really just kind of hope for the best. Everything looks good, so there's not much more I can continue to say besides that everything looks good, and I do expect this to start melting up. We got that bullish cross coming in a couple of days. That can turn a lot more algos on that'll start buying the dip and look to take price higher. So again, I still really love the setup. In fact, I was telling the Discord today that I do think GME is actually probably the best setup in the market right now, just from a trigger perspective. You see that bullish weekly trigger cross coming. I mean, that can lead to crazy, crazy moves. In fact, I actually saw this. Someone showed me this a couple of days ago. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. Hold on. And then if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to go over them with you. So this stock made a crazy, crazy move after, I think it was this stock. Maybe not. Maybe it was apps. Yeah, I think this is it. So look at this. First of all, from $1 to to $100. $1 broke the monthly trigger at $1, moved up to $100. So just to give you an example of what a melt up can look like, is you can see price breaking above the monthly trigger, and then the weekly trigger crosses right here. And immediately after the weekly trigger crosses the monthly trigger, the algos turn on. They get vicious, start buying every single dip to take it higher. And then you can see just the daily trigger is just supporting price here, supporting price here, supporting price here, 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 here. And then finally, the first leg of the move, 600%, the first leg of the move ends. Price pulls back a bit, range bound, finally breaks through the weekly trigger here, pulls back to the monthly trigger, and then again, once price breaks back above the weekly trigger, you get this, again, extremely powerful upside. Daily trigger acting as support, daily trigger acting as support, weekly trigger acting as support, daily trigger supporting price the whole way up. So this is the algo just buying all the dips in this range until price tops out at 100. So really, anything is possible when you have a setup like this, especially with a stock like GME. I hope it's the one because, anyone still holding the stock definitely deserves it. We've been through so much over these last few years, and this setup is just as good as it gets, and it'll look even better Friday, barring a complete collapse in price. Barring that, it'll look a lot better on Friday once we get that bullish cross. So you guys just saw apps started to take off right after that bullish cross. You very possibly might get something like that again. If anyone has any questions, more than happy to take a look. The weekly broke the monthly a few weeks before as well, and nothing happened. Could this be happening to GME as well? You're talking about on GME because the weekly trigger hasn't crossed the monthly trigger yet. Yeah, so got a projected percentage melt before major pullback. So I want to show you guys something. I think it's probably, if I had to guess, I would say there's a good chance it plays out like this. I would say there's a very decent chance we see something like this. So AMC, I think, was 700% if I'm not mistaken. All right, yeah, a little bit less, 600%. So, well, from the bottom is about 700%. So yeah, I can totally see this. I can see, like, honestly, 130 is like a good fib target that Gavin has. So I think this is totally possible. And then again, like if price is up here and then shorts start to get liquidated and all that kind of stuff, and it turns into like a much bigger squeeze, I'll take it. But forget anything about that. I'm just talking about a regular stock setup, a regular melt up setup. This is a melt up setup. You can see how similar it was on AMC and how similar it is on GameStop. In general, when the triggers move into this formation, it's like, a football team getting ready to run the ball. They're going to move into formation to run the ball, not to throw the ball. So when you see the triggers moving into formation like this, it's just telling you, yeah, the algos that move the stock, that decide where the stock is going to go, is getting ready to melt up the stock. Now, people want me to give the exact date it's going to happen or the exact moment it's going to happen. That, of course, I can't do. I'm not a prophet. But what I can say is that if price continues to hold above these levels, it's very likely that a melt up will begin to occur. No conference call, which should be illegal. As much as I want to agree with you, Iconic Swooshes, there's just, the way I look at it is that there's a reason why I'm giving a live stream and charting GME, and Ryan Cohen is running the business. I just have to trust that he knows what he's doing, and he has a reason for the things that he's doing, and that he knows better than me. Otherwise, I'd be the CEO and he'd be sitting here giving the live stream. Do you think that liquidation of short positions will occur? That I really don't know. I'm sure it's possible, but I'm not talking about any like MOAS kind of move. I'm just talking about a melt up, just like AMC had here. I think we can see something like this, and again, this move happened in a really short period of time. What was it, 2 weeks? I remember trading this. Let's do from the bottom. From bottom to top, it was 28 days, so less than a month. So GME bottomed here. Who knows? Maybe by end of September we'll be at 130. Would you sell on 130? So I don't really plan to sell my shares. What I do plan on doing is that if we indeed get a melt up, calls are going to be worth crazy amount of money. I would definitely sell covered calls at about 130 if we get there on a good portion of my shares. Let's say 150 calls. If that portion gets called away, so be it. And if it doesn't get called away, I'll make a nice profit on the covered calls. Obviously, I would look for other signs of topping as well, like bearish divergences, for example, etc. So there'll be other signs besides price just hitting 130. It just sucks to get all amped up for them to pull this BS. Listen, I don't know if you're new here, but we know they never talk on the call. Like, this is an ongoing theme, so I wasn't really expecting anything. I don't really plan on selling ever. No, I'd rather use my shares as a vehicle to make money selling covered calls during extreme melt-ups. Yeah, just real quick, I'll go over Chewy, but I'm not going to stay on it because people came for GME. So Chewy, again, it's struggling to get above the monthly trigger. You could see the rejections here, and then you could see the rejection here. The good news is the daily trigger is now providing support, and the monthly strength, this negative shaded purple region, was very extreme negative here, showing strong resistance. It's getting less extreme here. And at the end of September, it'll be even less extreme. So I would say even next break above 29.17 for Chewy can ignite a very powerful move to the upside, kind of like what you see here for AMC, breaking above the monthly trigger, accelerating almost double. So yeah, I could totally see that for Chewy. Just watch that monthly trigger. Will you hold your shares long term for 5 years, for example? Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine ever just selling out of my GME position. I've been watching the stock for 4 years every hour of the day, so it's really hard for me to imagine ever not having a GME share position. I'd rather just use my shares to sell covered calls. Yeah, I'll continue to provide projection updates videos throughout the melt up, of course. If we do indeed start to melt up, I'll definitely be on Twitter. I'll try to tweet tops and bottoms, and we'll definitely have like a video each week. Is Cohen on cocaine? I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see it. What do you think about the 5,000 block share buys in the dark pool? It's a good question. Not really, again, not really my area of expertise, so I can't give you a great answer. But definitely haven't been seeing that in the past. Dylan, I have a share position, yes. I had a tiny January call position for earnings just in case something happened. I think like 20 calls or whatever. But the way I plan on playing this is I want to look for that airplane setup, like I described before, where the hourly trigger comes down to the daily trigger, like so. Something like this. Oh, that's bad. Something like that, I would say. Um, and then, wait, sorry. Something like that. And then whenever price breaks above the hourly trigger next, whether that's here or whether that's here or whether it even dips a little bit below and then goes. So let's just do orange, blue, and purple. Whenever price breaks back above the hourly trigger from here, I think that can really kick off the move. So my plan is being patient, being patient, being patient. Price breaks above the hourly trigger here, I'll take my position and then just stop loss under the daily trigger. So whenever I enter, I'm going to expect strong upside acceleration right off the bat. But just in case, it ends up pulling back a little, I'm only going to stop out of the position if we break under 2270. So I would get in, but still going to keep a strict stop loss below the daily trigger until things really start to go. And again, the hourly trigger can come all the way down to the daily trigger, and price can also just break above the hourly trigger. So whichever one comes first, I would say the one in orange is actually probably the most bullish. The closer the hourly trigger is to the daily trigger when price breaks above, the more prepared the algos are to take it higher. So that's probably the most bullish. But whenever it breaks above the hourly trigger next, I think that can get things kicked off. Anybody else have a question? Lambo or Ferrari? Not my cup of tea. I'm not really a car guy. I'll probably buy a lot of Zins. I have a big Zin collection. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. Jake's Blue, where can you find the triggers? You can use, here, I'll type it in the chat. 1 second. So I just posted on the chat. You can go to memestockwatch.com and use code Platinum Free Month for a free month of Platinum. And if you want to cancel so you don't get charged after the month, just DM me on Twitter or email the service. But yeah, then you could learn all about the triggers, try them out, see how they work for you. LGH186, thank you, I appreciate that. What did I think about earnings reported? I mean, listen, I'm happy that price didn't get crushed. Not happy that they missed revenue, obviously. I tried my best. I bought a PlayStation from them this quarter. My remote, the triangle button on my remote broke after like a week and a half, so I bought another controller. I bought a few PlayStation games, so I definitely did my part. There's actually a GameStop right across the street from where I live, so I'm always stopping in there, just saying what's up to them, reminding them that I invest in the company. They're so sick of me, but it's like a running bit at this point. But yeah, listen, I mean, I trust in the management, so otherwise I wouldn't still be here. Like I definitely trust that Ryan can turn the ship around. So yeah, not obviously not the greatest earnings, but hey, at least EPS beat. So Jode Lau, I don't think 130 would be the top for good. I'm just saying that, let's say for example AMC here, it melted up and it ended up topping at 72, right? Well, 390 here, but pre-split, whatever they did, it was 72. So I think it was 9 to 72. So before that, the same method that Gavin, who's our Elliott Wave guy, you would have used to get that target, we're just applying the same thing here to GameStop. So if GameStop makes this kind of move, 130 would be um, a reasonable assumption. Have you ever sold far out the money covered calls to members in your Discord group before earnings? I haven't. I'm too scared of like losing my shares on something so stupid like that, like an event that I can't control. Um, I haven't really been selling so many covered calls lately, just because like if the stock is moving into a more and more bullish setup, I'm not really going to be focused on covered calls. But here on this bearish crossover, it definitely looked like price was going to come down to the monthly trigger, especially because SPY at the same time was looking super bearish. You can see right here. So I think this was the last time I sold covered calls. Bought them back at the monthly trigger, and then since then I've been taking it easy because, yeah, here. So you can see SPY broke below its daily trigger, GME broke below its daily trigger. Things look pretty bearish, so that was the last time I sold them. Do I think AMC will follow too? Yeah, I actually do. AMC's been pretty flat for the entire year, but when you take a look at the setup, this is the weekly trigger right here. If price can break above the weekly trigger, there's actually a huge air pocket up to 30. So I think they can definitely move together. 546 is what you want to be watching for AMC. You can see a rejection here. You can see a rejection into the weekly strength, which is a blue shaded region. So above 546, I'd say AMC will have its own melt up back up to the monthly trigger here. But you can see the whole year it's been flat. So like for me, this isn't really set up to play until above the weekly trigger. But I don't know. With Jamie looking close to melting up, I could see AMC starting to go soon. Hey Liam, I posted above if you want to learn more about the triggers. There's at least 10 hours of educational videos on the Discord that you could take a free month with coupon code Platinum free month. And then if you don't like it, you can just DM me and I'll cancel you so you never get charged. All right, so at the end of the day, I mean, if you just look at the after hours action, I was also telling Discord about this earlier. I just wanted to see the daily trigger hold as support, and you could see price dip down early to the daily trigger and bounced. So I like that. As long as the daily trigger continues to hold, the hourly trigger will slowly come down. And then whenever the next time price breaks above the hourly trigger, that's when I think we'll kick off our big upside move. So just keep an eye on the hourly trigger. We don't want to see GME break down below the daily trigger. That would be really bad and annoying. Not bad like macro, but bad shorter term. But as long as it continues to hold above 2270, next time price breaks above the hourly trigger, currently at 2390, will drop 10 cents or so per hour. Next time we get that break, that's what I think will really kick off this move. Do you have any long-term stocks or all in GME? I really like Mara here. I think Mara's going to go on a massive bull run over the next 4 months or so. But other than that, I also I have a little NVAX position. I think CCL is also gearing up for a very big run once IWM gets moving. But most of my money is in GME, yeah. Interesting that you mentioned Carvana. Yeah, that's price breaking down the daily trigger, moving into the weekly strength. Do it really quickly for you. But you could see here, similar kind of story. Price broke above the monthly trigger, held the retest, bullish crossover, and got 68 to 160, nice double. Not many people remember this, but I went long Carvana at like $5. You know why? I posted on Twitter back then. You could see this bullish divergence right here, where daily velocity wasn't making new lows, but price was. And when you see bullish divergence like this, it usually means that whales are buying the dip, and the stock turned and ended up selling it, I think on this spike. Probably didn't get the top, so probably here. And then I had to watch over the next year as as the stock moved up to 100. So yeah, I don't have a great relationship with Carvana. Pretty sad story actually. Literally long the bottom, sold it way too early. Pravin. So like I mentioned, for the indicators, if you want to learn more about them and try them out, you could go to memestockwatch.com and you could get a free month of Platinum with coupon code Platinum free month. I just pinned it. It's at memestockwatch.com. Big day for CPI data tomorrow. I personally have a feeling we're going to go higher on CPI, but not with a lot of conviction and kind of a gamble. Not something I'm trading. What's up with Surrey today? Surrey didn't go up today. It just had a reverse split. So price went from 2 to 26, but I don't think there was actually any profit here. What got you into GameStop originally? I was on Reddit. I was on Wall Street Bets in 2020. I watched some of Roaring Kitty's original streams, and I had all my money in it at the time, which was very, very little. So I was kind of just starting out. And I would actually drive Uber Eats every night to make more money to put it into GameStop. But yeah, that's what got me in Roaring Kitty and Reddit. I was there with the whole story. Remember it like it was yesterday. So I've been here a while. Me and everybody else, pretty much the same thing. All right, guys. So again, just watch the hourly trigger. That's most important here. I think next break above can kick it off. And I'm happy we got earnings out of the way without a huge drop and without a huge pop to lock me out of calls. So this is what I'm watching here. Next time price breaks above the hourly trigger, I do really think that could be it. I hope it's going to be it. And then Friday we should have that bullish crossover. So again, to me, macro-wise, this is the best GameStop has looked since January 2021. I mean, you could just it's a world of a difference how things look here and how things look this entire time. I'm not gonna lie, this entire time was tough, 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 because we were below the monthly trigger. So like I just knew in my head this is just gonna be downside and downside and downside. But I didn't sell anything. Um, Now we're finally back above the monthly trigger. We're finally about to get this bullish crossover. I mean, guys, if there's any time to melt up, it's now. So I hope it works out. I really do. Thanks, the collector. LP, there's instructions in the free Discord for you. Yeah, the Wizard of Oz earnings are out. We had a small beat in EPS and a miss on revenue. All right, looks like the action is over. Basically, all you need to know is next time price breaks above the hourly trigger, very, very, very good chance that things really start to kick off and get very aggressive to the upside. So watch that closely. And as long as we hold the daily trigger, things are good in the short term. If we break below the daily trigger, might have to retest down here again. I'm hoping we continue to hold the daily trigger. I really like the way that bulls defended it in after hours. You can see that perfect bounce off the daily trigger. And as long as we continue to hold it, the hourly trigger will drop and drop and drop, and then next breakthrough should send it. Yeah, I can take a look at Wolf really quick. Sure. I love Wolf. Oh yeah, I forgot about Wolf earlier. I'm also long Wolf. Um, so yeah, so very simple chart here on Wolf. You can see bounce off the monthly trigger and then rejected the daily trigger 3 times here. Bounced again off the monthly trigger, and now it's back at the daily trigger. So realistically speaking, next time price breaks above the daily trigger, we could probably see a much stronger upside move. And I think someone wanted to see Tesla before. Tesla looks bullish to me. Yeah, Tesla looks bullish. It's basing above the monthly trigger here. Probably gonna move more to the upside if I had to guess. How quickly do you expect to see a run after the weekly and monthly triggers cross? Immediately or delayed by a few days? So that's a great question. So I was showing before, we had a stock apps that did it immediately, like literally the week that it crossed. And then we had GME back in Jan 2021, where it took a couple of weeks. So here was the crossover. Then you had 1 week, and then on your second week, we already started seeing a big pop. On your third week and your fourth week and into your fifth week, you had a pullback. So again, that's 5 weeks already since the crossover. Big move higher, pullback, and then the melt up. So again, that's why I keep saying it's very important to watch the daily trigger. As long as the algo is buying in the daily trigger, you're likely to start melting up. You want to see the algo buying the dips at the daily trigger. So that's why after hours, I'm happy about the fact that we saw the algo buy it up right off the daily trigger, because that's a sign that they're active and ready. If I didn't see that, I'd be a little bit more concerned. Right here in after hours, you could see we got bought up right at the daily trigger. So very, very happy about that. The longer the daily trigger provides support, the higher the odds become of price melting to the upside. And again, all we got to do at this point is probably just break above the hourly trigger, and that can probably get it started. The closer together the hourly and the daily triggers are before price breaks the hourly trigger, the stronger the setup. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. It's great talking to you all. Hey, Chris. If you look at the pinned message, it's not public, but you can watch all our educational videos about it and try it out in the Platinum plan on memestockwatch.com. And it's free if you just use the code Platinum for a month. And then if you don't want to get charged at the end of the month, just shoot me a DM on Twitter or email the support team, and we'll cancel you. But more than happy to let anybody try it out for a month, see if they like it, and to see if it can help them with their trading. edgy. I bet they're gonna shake the tree one more time and then let it run. Um, Look, if we lose the daily trigger, yeah, but I don't know, man. I kind of think we're ready. I really do. I really think it's ready to go. James, what's the likelihood that the weekly trigger, monthly trigger stay this way for several more months? Zero. As long as price does not lose probably 22 by Friday, this is going to cross on Friday. This is it, guys. Like, we're here. We're really here. That's why, like, I'm so excited right now because using the triggers long enough, you know the implications of this. Like, you know that it really means that it's go time. Now, I can't tell you the exact day it's going to start. I can't. All I can tell you is that the longer we spend above here, the higher the odds become that it's going to go. But this Friday, they will cross over unless, we break down below here. Trans Porsche, I'm 26. I'm a fintech professional. So coding, programming. Fintech is financial technology. So think like Cash App or Zelle, anything with transferring money in the form of an online payment, meaning not transferring cash. That's all fintech. So I was working for actually one of the biggest credit card processing companies in America, as a project manager for years while I was, getting into stocks on the side. And then once like we had a Discord up and running, I quit that job. I actually make less money now, but I have a lot more fun and feel a lot more fulfilled. Thank you, Redondo. I appreciate that. Edgy, you don't owe me anything. I just sharing a view. I really want this to work, and I think it will. The Chad, I'm a nobody. You don't want my autograph. Yeah, no problem, Transport. All right, guys, I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be in touch. Feel free to DM me on Twitter at any point if you guys have questions or whatnot.